Hey, Janice.
Hi, Anthony.
Cool. Today, let's talk about who we give holiday tips and how much. This season is right around the corner. So, like every year, we struggle with holiday tipping
Yeah,
and, how much to give and to whom or to who. So, I'm not sure that we have all the answers, but at the very least, we can share what we do so that you can at least compare notes. Yeah.
absolutely. I find this challenging every year. I'm constantly Googling what the correct answer is. So today we'll talk about our holiday tipping for paper carriers, barbers, hairstylists, the mailman, the cleaning lady, dog walkers, and the doorman or super.
And lastly, we will cover holiday tipping for business owners, which has some slightly
Ah,
different dynamics to it. So make sure you stick around for that.
absolutely. Hit subscribe and leave a comment too.
Cool. Why don't you get us started with the paper carrier or
Okay,
the
so
mail? Yeah.
paper carrier. My first question is, does anyone actually get the physical paper? You do.
Yes. In our building,
Awesome. Okay.
there's a lot of people who have the New York Times or whatever on their
Okay.
doorsteps. So there are deliverymen. Yeah.
Okay. So I was doing that for a while, like the Sunday delivery. But so there's two ways to do it. First of all, I think you can add it to your bill, which is nice because I've never actually seen our paper carrier. They come by at like 4 in the morning and they throw it out the window. So it would be a challenge to give to them. But the normal, according to online, is about $10 to $20. So it might be a little easier for you in a building where you have a place to put it.
Mhm.
But the norm is $10 to $20.
Cool. All right. Next, the barber or hairdresser, I guess, depending on who you are.
Right?
Uh, I think the equivalent is one service. So, like, the equivalent is one haircut. I have no idea if that's accurate because I have not tipped my barber. So, shame on me,
Well,
I guess. I don't know.
yeah.
You tell me, Janice, what do you do?
So I don't go as often as I should. So I have a girl that I use maybe once a year. So I'm not a regular per se. I tend to bounce around depending on where I can get an appointment. So I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit different. I don't have like that rapport. Whereas you go, I think more often because you have shorter hair, right?
Every three
You
weeks.
have
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't have that. So kind of skip that one. Maybe let me know how it goes if you tip them this year. Is that
Yeah.
maybe?
I'll report back.
Okay. Yes, we'll report back. So, how about the mail carrier? Um, so this one's interesting because per federal regulations, you can't give any more than $20. They can't accept gifts worth more than that. We have a lady that comes to our house in my office, and she's super. I mean, she's just super. So last year I started, I write a handwritten note and then a gift card about that equivalent of the $20 too. We have the Wawa, the grocery. You can get lunch and coffee and
Yeah. Yeah. You and your
yes,
Wawa. You're always
I
talking about
love.
Wawa.
I do. I do. I feel like I should be a spokesperson, but I mean, it's 2 feet away and the coffee's amazing. Anyway, so I did a gift certificate to there because I was, afraid of putting $20 cash in the thing, but I did that with a nice note. And actually, the very next day, she wrote the nicest note back, and she was so thankful. So, and to me, it's important because I run my business out of here, and I
Mm.
have to be nice to the mail lady because I got packages coming and going all day long, every day. So,
Yeah, actually, that's actually a good point. It does overlap with the business stuff we'll be talking
mhm.
about later. Okay, so next is the cleaning lady. We actually don't have a cleaning lady right now, but we did for a few years. I have no idea what my wife tipped, but I think it was the equivalent
Yeah,
of one week's or whatever, one session of cleaning.
yes,
Uh, and they do a job that you don't want to do to help
right,
keep your house sanitary. So I do feel like
right.
that's something you want to take care of. Yeah.
I agree with you on that one. And this is our first year with a cleaning lady for my sanity.
Mm,
So I will tip because she has been an absolute lifesaver because who has time to clean the stuff
right.
that they get in and clean? More power to them. And it's kind of on the same equivalent, a dog walker. And actually in the burbs, they have dog cleaner uppers that actually come
Oh.
to your house to clean up dog backyards. Do you see what I'm saying? So
There's a you outsource that? That is
you
hilarious. Okay, I didn't know
can.
that
Yes.
existed.
I don't personally, but I know three of our neighbors do. And they have someone that comes once a week. She's super, just, it's cute. She comes out, she's in a full uniform, and she actually cleans up the mess. And I think it's pretty reasonable. But for a dog walker or someone who does that, I would definitely tip a nice Christmas because that's something that I personally wouldn't want to do. But that is same thing as what we said before. It's the equivalent of a service. But if you're really thankful, you may want to do a little bit more.
Cool. So I'm going to go into the last big one. That's a huge point of contention in New York, your doorman or your super, your building staff. But before we get into that, there's a section that I really didn't touch on, or I guess a couple of different sections. Do you still have crossing guards where you are,
Yeah.
Janice? Is that
Yes.
still a thing? Is
Actually,
that
not
somebody you
my.
tip? Yeah.
So good question. That I don't have them at our school. Some of the schools do, and I think it's probably along the lines of the teachers. You would do something small, like appreciative.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, just because I feel like these are the folks who are like looking up for our kids,
Yeah,
and they're
you have a
actually
good
usually
point.
super nice. Yeah. So.
Yes, and a lot of them around here volunteer.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I didn't know
so
that.
they're
Yeah.
unpaid and volunteer. There's a lot of volunteers. Yes.
Okay. So we're squeezing in. You got a bonus one. We talked about
good one. Yeah, I didn't think of that one.
crossing guards. Okay. So the big one. So doormen and building staff and supers. This is a big deal in Manhattan because, number one, it can get really expensive. Just by way of example, we live in a very modest-sized building, and our staff is about 20. If you include the super, the two service technicians, the concierges, the porters. I mean, these words mean like the guy at the front desk, the guy who takes out the garbage,
That's all me and my husband in our dorm room, but yeah.
So, I mean, there's 20 people there. So that whatever number you put on this or whatever tip amount you put on this, it adds up really quickly because there's a multiplier of 20.
Right.
Just everyone who's not from New York, you need to know, you need to tip your super, period. Otherwise, the reality is things will get fixed more slowly for you if a problem does. I mean, yeah, that's just kind of how it is. So, but there's two schools of thought on the building staff in general. So the one school over here is, you just got to give everyone something because it's like tipping a waitress who gets paid less than minimum wage on account of the fact that they get tips, right?
Right.
Similarly, building staff in Manhattan, I don't know exactly the numbers, but my understanding is they rely heavily on the holiday tips. Like it's a big proportion of their take home. So, you kind of, it's kind of tough to not tip every member of the building. Then there's another school of thought that it's a time to reward excellence and not necessarily feel compelled to tip every single person just because of their existence. Especially if there's a lot of drama in buildings. Like there's like, oh, that's the doorman I don't like, whatever.
Wow.
But yeah, there's no real clear cut answer. I've heard of folks who give hundreds per building staffer, which turns out to be like an annual tipping pot of thousands of dollars for the building.
Ouch.
And I've heard of folks who, bake cookies, so it kind of runs the gamut. Yeah.
So maybe even just a thank you or something small might help. But you're saying definitely the super. Is that what you're saying?
Super's definite. Okay. And you can kind of tell when you hand out the holiday cards that the cash is expected and appreciated.
Yes, you're trying to be very politically correct with that answer. But yeah. Okay.
It's money,
so okay. So how about holiday tipping for business owners?
Yeah, let's get into this. Both of us can speak to this point, but so I'm going to start off with freelancers. So I rely heavily on freelancers. I'm not talking about my relationships with virtual staff, but rather freelancers from Fiverr. Right. There's a gentleman from I think he's in Croatia who does the audio syncing on all the podcasts. He does a great job. It's really inexpensive, and I'm looking forward to sending him a nice little tip. There was a gentleman. Who else? I mean, there's a whole list of folks. We've done episodes on all the
right. We have, yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go with the equivalent of one service. I'm not really sure what I'm thinking there, but what do you think? Does that sound fair?
It does, and I think with all of this, it goes back to how much do you appreciate him? Like you said, all year long, you could probably send him something, you get it back in a minute. So it's a show of thanks. So maybe Fiverr, they only make a few dollars, so a couple more than that would go a long way. That's kind of my thinking. It's
okay. So, similarly, as you know, I have 5 books out at this point, maybe 4. 5 is coming soon. So I have staff, or I have people who I work with regularly. I have my editor, my cover designer, my formatter. Janice, you tell me, is it appropriate to tip those folks, or does that come off as just kind of socially awkward? I'm not really clear on how that works.
So I still think it's if you have that relationship with them and you feel like you want to just give them something as a thank you. And it can be something small, like even, personally, I've received things and it doesn't have to be big. It's just a small, I've even gotten just a card. It was a nice gesture of, you know what, they're thinking of me. That's very thoughtful.
So the reason I ask you, Janice, is because just culturally, from an Asian immigrant background, like if you don't know exactly what to get somebody, you give them cash, right?
Okay.
Even for like
Yep.
their birthday. um, so I know other cultures. I know a lot of like more Americanized cultures are like that comes off as crass, right? So I'm not sure if it comes off as tacky to tip some of these folks. That's I
Well,
guess what I'm asking. Yeah.
it might be better though. Like, I think you're onto something because it's not like you can bake them cookies. They don't live next
True.
door to you. You can't walk them over cookies. I mean, sure, you might be able to send something, but some of them are overseas. So
Yep.
I think in this situation, cash probably would be best because how would you hand them something? Or, I think Americans were really good at let's make something cute and artsy and which is nice and thoughtful, but how are you going to get it to somebody who's virtual?
Very true. And then the last one for me is the office managers at my physical office.
Yeah.
I share an office space that has sort of, yeah, I don't know what to say. Office managers, they
Hmm.
take care of custodial issues and handle all the mail and all that good stuff. So I do think that those are folks
Yeah.
who deserve, and I will find a way to figure out a tip there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's great. And again, cash is always good because think about the holidays. Those people are buying for families
Yeah.
and everything else. So it is a nice time to be able to give them a little something extra.
Hey, Janice, do you favor cash or gift cards? Do you have a thought on that?
I think again, it depends on the person. Like you said, your Fiverr, that
Uh,
you can't send them a gift card. Whereas my mail lady, I know she likes Wawa. I've seen her with the coffee cups. Like I just know that. So maybe she would have appreciated cash, but I think in that situation, I knew she liked it. Sometimes gift cards you get stuck with.
yeah.
I used to have someone so generous that would give me wonderful gift cards, but they were for about an hour to an hour and a half away to go use them. So I still have some of them left, but it was really thoughtful, but sometimes it's hard if you don't know they can actually use them.
Cool.
My thoughts.
And do you have any other folks you can think of who you'd like to add on, Janice?
I don't, but I just feel like it's one of those holidays where if you feel that you should give somebody something, do it. And if it can only be a little bit, that's okay. I don't think you have to go over the moon and go crazy on this, but just giving them a little extra thanks probably goes a long way for the rest of the new year.
Totally agree. And one last thing before
Hmm.
we wrap up here is timing. Don't wait till the 24th. It's not as impactful or as useful if you're
That's
giving it to them
true. Yeah,
that late in the
that's
year.
true.
It
Yeah,
feels good to you because you're handing it out
right.
like on Christmas Eve, but it's not as
They could have used
spendable.
it a week ago to buy the food for their big gathering.
Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
I see that. And you know what? They might not even be there. Have you ever run into that where if you
Yep.
wait too long, they're not there? Then you're now giving it to them at New Year's Eve. Like, here's your Christmas
Yeah.
bonus a week
Yeah.
later. So, yes, definitely on to something. So, I think that's it.
Yep.
Definitely subscribe and please comment because there's a lot of people that we missed. And so, if you have some good ideas or suggestions, definitely comment. And we'll see you next time.
Cool. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks, Janice. Bye now.
Thanks. Bye.